Best dressed man in wrestling right here. Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. It ain't no doubt. It ain't no doubt. Flair, bring that old cashmere coat out here. Gee, I love.
Can't help it that I'm custom made. I can't help it that I look good, smell good, can dance all night long.
Welcome to a special edition of Midday Sports with Rod Uncensored. I got Miss Jennifer and the the co-founder of Three Chicks podcast.
Yes.
I'm
Hi,
sorry.
Rod.
It was hard for me to see it. It was hard for me to see it.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right.
Good. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on. Like, again, I said before, you know what I mean? We went live. It's hard to find people to collab and have a podcast with.
Exactly, it is. So you know who my team is, but I don't know who your team is. Who's your team?
My team is the Patriots, the people that took that trophy from you in 2004.
Yeah, my man. I almost wore his jersey tonight. Is the one that busted that cheating scandal wide open.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Steve, baby.
But I always had a lot of respect for Steve Smith. Steve Smith and what's the guy named Muhammad? I liked the Muhammad Moose game.
Muslim Muhammad.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it. Luke Hinckley when he was playing. It was a shame when he called it quits. I think he's surely should deserve one of them Hall of Fame jackets.
He should be first round ballot Hall of Fame.
Julius Peppers. I used to watch a little bit of the All Pros y'all used to have.
Did you know Julius is the only player to ever have played in a Final Four, and March Madness Final Four, and a Super Bowl?
I never knew that.
Yep.
I never knew that. I never understood how he played DN at 6'8".
He made it work. He made it work. He did pretty good.
So what made you want to become, a Carolina Panther fan? Are you originally from that area?
I am. I'm from Charlotte. So I was born in Hickory, which is part of the Metrolina area.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 45 minutes to an hour outside of Charlotte. Mm-hmm. And then I keep looking to my right because that's where I have my screen. Sorry. Okay, I'm seeing this now. Okay, so and my dad took me to the exhibition game in Raleigh in '89.
Okay.
And I didn't know anything about football. I'm not gonna lie, it was always on. I knew how to play football, but I didn't really know the rules because not to be all girl powerish or anything like that. But at that day, in the 80s, 90s,
you got another Carolina fan,
but not on a team, right? So, I could play. I knew how to throw a football. I joke around and say my dad taught me how to throw a football by the time I was 2 and still in the crib. But but then it just kind of became our thing. And the first game I ever went to was in '96. My dad went to the games a couple of the games in '95. He's been a PSL holder since. And I saw Miami playing the Panthers, and I was watching the ball technically leave Dan Marino's hands, but you could never see it leave his hands because he was so flawless and so good at execution. And I was like, hey, there's something to sport. And I was a freshman in college in '96, and I just really got into it. I got into football at college, kind of. I always went to high school games. I was like, whatever, I'm just watching, kind of bored. But then I really started getting into it, and it's my passion. And I love it. And it's kind of fun for me now because there'll be times when there's one guy I'm thinking of in particular, smart guy, sweet guy. But every time he starts talking football, he totally ignores me, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm I finally looked at him on Mother's Day and I go, I said, I am my father's daughter and I know just almost as much about football as he does. Mm-hmm. I was like, since I'm the one that went to Super Bowl, you might want to start listening. And he was like, Oh, okay.
So how did you come up with the Three Chicks Pod in a pod?
So that's really a cool story. My friend Carrie and I had talked about it, doing our own podcast for a couple of years. And then last year in 2022, I saw a group of guys go from the network that we were with go to the Super Bowl. And I messaged one of them because we were really good friends. And I was like, just so you know, I'm going to be at Radio Row next year. And he's like, why, you starting your own podcast? I was like, yes, actually, I am. So I messaged Carrie. I was like, all right, it's now or never. We got to do it because I want to be at the Super Bowl next year. And she was like, all right. And so we started planning things. And then I was like, I really want to invite Megan on. And I was like, I really want Megan a part of this. She was like, no, I love Megan. Let's get her on. Megan at that time, I didn't know how, I mean, I knew she was good. I didn't know how good she was. She's actually a sports talk show host in Texas. And she got that job in the last 6 months. She's amazing. And she, and so we were working, and Megan came up with the title, but we were the only all women's talk show or podcast about sports.
Wow.
A couple of people have tried to emulate since. A couple of people are still trying to, including a certain 4-letter network. But we were the originals. We were the OGs. And I take it as a compliment that we had people from those networks looking at us.
So where were the responses from, you know what I mean, just overall, because there's a male dominant, you know what I mean, lane, talking sports and just in general, but what was the, you know what I mean, response from, you know what I mean, women or men about your podcast?
They love it. And honestly, when I was in Phoenix back in February, like when I was talking to some people, they were like, what's the name of your podcast? We love that. And like, I feel like I'm doing the humble brag, but it's like, I'm not trying to. It was just so cool and exciting because like I was interviewing Howie Long and I saw his wife and I was like, Mrs. Long, come up here, because he was getting the Pat Schumer Award for philanthropic efforts. And he, and she came up and I was like, hey, I'm Jen Lewis. She's Three Chicks in a Pod. She was like, babe, I watch them all the time. You hear me on Tuesday nights laughing. She was like, you're the one that threatens to mute your other friend all the time, right? I was like, yes.
Wow.
But no, the response has been overwhelmingly positive. People really like it. They like our takes. We're actually going to be adding some really some new shows. Like we're going to be doing Her Take, which is, we had a really good friend who passed away who had started something called the Alex Fleming's NFL Carousel on the Sideline Sports Network. And we're going to be doing an all-female version of that. We do have permission. We also have the NBA Carousel that we'll be doing. And that'll just be, because everybody has like a lot of guys involved, like with the NFL Carousel type shows. So we wanted to do all female on that. NBA Carousel will be having like everybody who has a team. So if you have a basketball team, Rod, let me know.
Okay, I'll let you know. I'm a fair weather Laker fan. You know what I mean?
think everybody is.
What's your thoughts about overall the OTAs right now with y'all drafting Bryce Young? Is it really a quarterback competition, or you're going to go?
I'm sick of them saying that. I'm sick of the Matt Rule experiment. Matt Rule's gone. Thank God.
Okay.
He's gone. So we need to stop this quarterback carousel because Andy Dalton is there to help acclimate Bryce Young to the NFL. I have a little conspiracy theory, and I have nothing to back it up, but I think our last franchise quarterback is actually also helping him out too. Nothing to back that up on, but just comments I've seen that Cam has made, Bryce making towards Cam, things like that. I was very hesitant on the Bryce pick, and no, it wasn't because of his size, because petite men in Charlotte sports have actually done well by us. But I will keep my unpopular opinion to myself why I was hesitant. But I love the fact that he's like, I realize and recognize you guys gave up DJ Moore for me. Thank you. I don't take that lightly because I know what he meant to the team and to your community, which goes far. Like that really goes far because you're addressing the elephant in the room. And we've had some really good people come up. We don't have a really tight cornerback room right now, and this was one of the articles I was like refreshing. I forgot his name. I'm sorry. Rajon Wright was an undrafted free agent, and we grabbed him. And they're saying that he's forcing himself onto the team right now, which is awesome for him. He's showing up. He's doing a great job. He's the quote from Cat Crave. I don't know why I forgot that. But it says, not only this, but Wright is holding his own against more established pass catchers, something that could stand the defense back in superb stead as the summer goes on. So they're saying that he's doing well. The team's gelling. Everybody's coming together. Shaq is seeing everybody's praises. Shaq and Taylor Mountain are, to me, the two I know there are other guys on the team. They're the two more seasoned people who are senior people who really know the team, know what keep pounding means. They know, and they're seeing everybody's praises that we've gotten. So, and that's awesome.
So, my biggest concern with y'all team, just from the last regime to now, is the trench play, the offensive line. You have any reports about the O-line? Did they bring some people in, or are they still going with the same original cast from last year on the O-line?
We've got the majority of the original cast. The O-line last year started to take shape after we sent Roll back to school, which was a good thing. Trey Boston tweeted that out like during the Buffalo game. He was like, a Buffalo Bills player just told me that the entire NFL has a send Roll back to school. I was like, I love that. Like, I'm totally stealing it from Mr. Boston. But we've got Derek Wright who's stepping up. We've got a couple of draft picks that have been really stepping up. They're probably not going to be starting, but they're going to be learning, which is important. Mm-hmm. Frank actually has, from everything I've been hearing from my contacts, Frank actually has the support of the locker room and the respect of the locker room. And that was important because when we didn't hire Coach Wilkes, who everyone in Charlotte and every Panther fan everywhere wanted Coach Wilkes to get that head coach position. Mm-hmm. Like, my ideal would have been head coach, Frank Reich as OC. I knew Frank was never going to take an OC position, but I would have loved it if he had. Mm-hmm. But Steve really started turning the team around. And so the parts were there. We didn't have a coach who knew how to put it together.
So what was the major thing about the signing of Rule? I just didn't understand the signing that gives somebody with not really a lot of NFL experience a job like that. What do you think is the main reason he got the job? Was it just the interview that he blew people out of the water? Why do you think they signed him?
I think Dave Gettleman played a nasty trick on Dave Tepper. Mm-hmm. And put it out that he was going to sign him because he knew Tepper was competitive with him. Mm-hmm. And because Gettleman used to be our GM. Mm-hmm. And he's the one who actually got rid of Steve. Mm-hmm. And then, so after that, I never liked him because Steve was my boyfriend. He was my football boyfriend. I mean, okay. I don't know if his wife knows it or not, but in my mind, he was my football boyfriend. Okay. And they, I think it was also the other three coaches that he did really want all signed with other teams or mm-hmm. stayed with their current team. Mm-hmm. And he was like, well, I'll be darned if I'm going to lose out to another one. So he offered him $10 million. Now, I don't think Frank's contract is $10 million a year, so that's good. Mm-hmm. But Rule, when he moved to Charlotte, like my husband and I used to live in Uptown. As you can see, we're still kind of moving on. We were right next to the stadium, so the Panthers had corporate apartments. So before his wife and kids got there, he stayed there, and before he signed on the house that they own or owned here, he was rude. Like, he and I literally ran into each other 3 times because neither of us can talk and walk and text at the same time. And the third time, the first 2 times, I was like, "Oh, excuse me, pardon me." The third time, I was like, "Sir, you're in the South now, the true South. You can say excuse me when you run into a lady." And he just looked at me, and I was like, "I can give that look too, honey, and I can do it better than you." I didn't like him, but I was like, okay, he's a jerk in person. Let's see how he is as a coach. I was right. But
so do you think Mingo's the receiver from Ole Miss? You think he's gonna get any PT?
I'm excited about Mingo. They actually called Steve Smith from the draft, and they were like, "Who do we get?" And he was like, "Mingo."
Do you think Steve ever you think he ever take a position with your organization? Because I think he's a great mind. I think he could be a great scout.
I think he and Luke will both eventually come into the fold. But Steve's making bank right now as an announcer or as an analyst. So, I mean, I don't know. I would love it. I mean, he's at every OTA or almost every OTA. He's at preseason. I mean, he's giving coaching. I don't know if he's part of the, like, officially part of the organization or if it's just a volunteer work, because he is, a Panther.
Okay. Do you have any faith that J.C. Horn's going to have a better year this year?
I hope so. I'll say that because he is when healthy, he could be a generational talent. I hope so. I know that it was not in his game plan to get injured. However, I will give some of that credit to the previous regime. So, because the previous regime really liked sidelining certain players, in my opinion.
So, I know y'all made a big offseason move getting Miles Sanders. I'm wondering how this is going to work because I am really concerned about the O-line play. Hopefully they can pull to make some good holes for him. How do you feel about this? What faith do you have in this offense next year? Do you feel like y'all going to be able to compete at a high level on offense?
I do, because like I said, the parts have always been there. You have Taylor Mountain, one of the best tackles in the league. Always top 3. People will try to hate on him, but I can honestly only remember 3 times since he's been a Panther, 3, maybe 4, that a quarterback has been sacked while he was on the line, on his side. Now, on the left side, that's a different story. But now, yeah. We didn't have a good left tackle from 2014 on until last year when we drafted. I always pronounce his name. I'm just going to say Big E because I always mispronounce his name and I don't want to be offensive. But he's awesome. We drafted one of his partners from NC State this year too. So everybody's like all up in arms and all excited about that. But we're now getting the left side filled, which is what we needed. We needed the center position filled. Because after Ryan Khalil retired, it took us a while to find somebody. So, and we fulfilled that position last year. Then he really started coming into his own once Wilkes took over. So, do I anticipate us going to the Super Bowl? No. Would it be epic? Yes. Do I plan on it? Not this year.
I forgot even what y'all record was last year. It was like 6 wins. Which year had like 6 wins last year or 7?
Under Wilkes, we had 6 wins.
Okay, 6 wins.
Under Rule, we had. Wait, what was our record last year?
It was like.
I know under Wilkes. I'm looking it up. I know under Wilkes we were right at 500. I know we only won one game under Rule. Panthers. Okay. We were the second in the NFC South. Under Wilkes, we were right at 500. We won. Okay. I will never forget watching Bill Belichick just stand on the sidelines and smirking at Matt Rule. You probably remember that too.
Yeah, I remember it. I thought it was funny. Yeah, I just I think if y'all can get 7 wins this year, that'd be a win. I just think that division is open if you could get on a run, because I really don't have no faith in the Saints. But the other teams, I'm like,
Honestly, I'm curious about the Bucks this year.
yeah, the Bucks. I'm just worried about Baker. I never had big faith in Baker.
I will say this. Baker, when I was watching him live, when I was at the games watching him, and he was starting, he was actually doing the leadership role. The problem is he who shall not be named really didn't like anybody else being a leader. And really would show off and show out and show his displeasure. Like Christian McCaffrey didn't even meet the offensive coordinator last year until after Wilkes took over.
Wow. That's another person I forgot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm getting over that breakup too, you know?
Yeah, how many picks did y'all get from him again? I forgot how many picks y'all got.
3.
3 picks?
Yeah.
I think that was a good situation to get 3 picks for him. He was always nicked up.
Well, okay, I was going there. Okay, we won 7 games last year. Lost 10. We were second in the NFC South. We were really neck and neck at the end with the Bucks, but Tom Brady was taking that last game as a playoff game, and Tom doesn't take losing a playoff game lightly. So,
I know about Tom.
Yeah, you know a little bit about Tom.
a little bit about Tom.
A little bit about Tom.
A little bit.
Okay, Christian's injuries. You're really going to put somebody on IR for a freaking rolled ankle? Really? No. Because, Rod, come on. You nor I are professional athletes, right?
No.
And I would get over that within a week. Christian would get over that in an hour. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah, I was nicked up. I was the Black Rudy of my high school football team, so I understand. Everybody's gonna get nicked up, but
right.
But yeah, he looked really great. I think that fits him better, the 49ers, because they have so many running backs. They got, in and out. Him and Shanahan grew up. He was his babysitter, so you know how you already got the intel on him, so it makes sense.
Exactly. And I think because Christian had one full season under Ron Rivera, but it was right after Tepper bought the team.
Man, I forgot about Ron Rivera being there for that.
Yeah. So we drafted Christian because Cam wanted Christian. I had never heard of him. And I was like, what? Who is this kid? Okay, well, I didn't know he'd been nominated for Heisman. Okay. But I didn't pay attention because you know how there's kind of a division. Like if you're on the East Coast, you're going to get more of the East Coast games than you are college games than you are going to see from the West Coast, right?
You in AAC country. You're in AAC country.
ACC, baby. Hey,
yeah.
Go Heels.
And SEC, you know what I mean? It's not going to get a Stanford game.
I did see Stanford play once, but that was when my best friend was at UNC. I forgot what I was going to say. What was your question? I talked so much I lost track of myself.
Oh, I think we was talking about Christian McCaffrey.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Kyle was his babysitter. My little conspiracy theory with Christian is like once we get it together, he might come back. Because he still has his house, unlike Norman. He and Olivia, his fiance, loved living in Charlotte. But the entire time Christian was here in Carolina, Honestly, it was upheaval and it was turmoil because Richardson sold the team to Tepper. Tepper made some colossal mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's okay. We all make a mistake.
Do you think y'all would ever retire the Superman's jersey?
We need to. Cam needs to come back with us. I had a very hard time getting over that breakup.
I feel like after the Super Bowl, that Super Bowl run, you know what I mean? I really don't blame him for that Super Bowl run because nobody on that line was blocking. Like, I don't expect you.
Literally, Cam carried that team to the Super Bowl on his shoulders. Like, nobody likes to hear that, but it's like literally he had Greg.
What's that? Greg Olsen and what's the other? Philly something. Philly, what was the receiver?
Oh,
Philly
Jackson.
Philly Jackson and a couple other pieces. Like, I was surprised that year y'all made it. To be honest with you, I didn't see it. I know it was his MVP year, but I don't know how he moved with the receivers he had. Like, I think that might have been one of the worst receiving cores somebody took to a Super Bowl in history.
My husband and I were talking about this the other night, and he goes, so in 2015, who was the best wide receiver we had? And I'll go, Greg Olsen. Go, and yes, he's a tight end. He goes, nope, you're right.
And Greg does great work on TV, man. He does great work.
Isn't he amazing?
He's amazing.
He's a great announcer.
I can't do Twin Roll too long, though.
Right.
Too much so.
But my biggest complaint with Ron Rivera, who I have the utmost respect for, he needed to bench Cam a couple of times to get his injuries under control. Because in the only business decision I ever saw Cameron Newton make was during the Super Bowl when he didn't jump on that ball. If he had jumped on that ball, he would have been injured. And people don't realize that until they go back and look at it and they're like, oh yeah, Jen was right. Like you can't say, and Cam's even come out since then and said that. But when we went to Denver, so we played them in the Super Bowl. We played Denver in the Super Bowl. The very next year, home opening game, we're the number 2 team in the league. This has never happened before. It hasn't happened since because Ron Reyes came, which was good. We had to go to Denver to play them again. During that game, Cam got not KO'd, but he didn't have a concussion. Okay. So honestly, this is where I respect Andy Reid a little bit more because I saw Patrick Mahomes go down, and they were worried about his knee. It was just a stinger. Like, he literally could have gotten up and gone back in the game with no injuries. And Andy's like, no, you're benched for 3 weeks. We're going to make sure this isn't going to end your career. Ron needed to bench Cam a couple of times to heal him.
And I feel like he's definitely got a hot seat, man. You can't have 2 roosters in the same coop.
We were just so codependent on each other. And it's funny because the first year he was with you guys, before he got COVID, he was on track to break his rookie records.
Yeah, he was looking great till that COVID hit him.
Till COVID. Now, I blame Cam solely for not getting vaccinated, but, hey, that was his story.
Yeah, that's definitely. I think he should have did it, but, I remember watching him at Philly. We played a preseason game before he got released. And I just didn't like the narrative of them saying he was lazy, didn't read the playbook. I didn't like that.
I cannot stand your quarterback. Current quarterback.
I don't either, but I really don't. I really don't understand what Bill was thinking. But
well, have they had any takers on drafting on somebody taking him? Because I know he was up for a discussion of being traded.
I don't think nobody wants that. I don't think nobody wants that.
I'll give you my unpopular opinion of him off record, but yeah, I'm pretty stoic in this one.
I think he's really is a prick. You know what I mean? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yes.
I didn't like how he went.
I didn't like how he up for him a lot of Alabama.
Yeah, I didn't like how he went by. You know what I mean? by how he was talking about his frustration with the offense, and you know what I mean. At the end of the day, Bill Belichick didn't tell you to throw all them picks last year.
Nope.
Like you should have been reading the defense. You know what I mean. I know that offense was vanilla, but at the end of the day, Tom wouldn't have threw that many picks. I don't care who his offensive coordinator was.
Cam wouldn't have thrown that many picks, and Cam can throw a pick.
I don't care who you put there. I don't think they're going to throw that many picks. I think sometimes he gets overconfident and thinks he's the next second coming of Steve Young, which is not the case.
No.
So, you know what I mean? I'm wishing
Tom Brady to give him a noogie.
I don't think Tom will dirty up his hands with that. But again, I just what is your expectation wind wise? Did I ask you that before?
No, not yet.
Okay. What is your expectation wind wise, or are you also a second parter? Are you going to visit a training camp or OTAs? Have you?
I have not had a chance to go to OTAs because even I needed to, but I work like a block away from the stadium. Okay. But I kind of started a new role that I've been learning at work, so I've got to do what pays me too.
Okay.
But yeah, I will be going to training camp this summer. So.
Okay. How many training camps have you visited?
I've been to 2 training camps.
Okay.
But I go to almost every single home game. I have a personal belief. I don't believe in going to opposing teams' stadiums because I don't know why. I just don't like it. I don't like it when opposing teams come to my stadium. So like I really can't stand it. So
okay.
My expectations, I honestly, if I've watched a lot of the OTAs on YouTube, and like I follow several people, like Sheena Quick on Twitter, Keep Blitzen. I follow both of those ladies, and they've been at OTAs, everything. If you're a Panthers fan, follow them on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter too, but they are amazing. And I'm hesitant to say this, but I could honestly see 10 wins this year. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. People are hungry, man. People are hungry for those wins. The players are, you've got your senior people like Shaq's come out and he's like, you know, I'm not bragging or anything, but we're coming together nicely. I mean, our new DC, I mean, look what Denver did last year. Like they sucked. But every single game that they did lose was so tight, and it was because of the D.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Of course.
Yeah.
And they got the bad man coming now. I love Sean Payton. Always loved Sean Payton, even when he was the Saints. You know what I mean? The offense he runs. This is make or break for Russell Wilson. If Russell Wilson can't live, he can't have a good season this year.
Well, Russell got screwed too because he screwed himself.
Nathaniel Hackett is not an old coach.
They had to trade so many players to pay him what he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So
you still got Jerry Jeudy. You still got Sutton. You still got you know what I mean. You still got some receivers in that defense. I love Patrick Surtain Jr. So
he's awesome.
You know what I mean. And you got Simmons up. You know what I mean at the free safety spot. So
I thought Surtain was leaving for some reason, or was he just blowing smoke?
What, Simmons?
Surtain.
Oh, no. He's still in his rookie contract.
Okay. I guess he got mad last year and was like just venting on Twitter or something.
Yeah, he's still in his rookie contract. So, you know what I mean? So I like the moves. Again, I was glad to see y'all win 10 games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Y'all been down now for a long while. You know what I mean? Like us, we've been kind of, you know, we've been having a little rough time after that divorce with Tom Brady. You know, we still listen to Taylor Swift. You know what I mean? Trying to shake it off, but it's definitely been difficult. So, you know what I mean? That'd be great for y'all to see, you know what I mean, y'all on top. You know what I mean? After, you know, Tampa's barely squeezed to make the playoffs last year.
They barely beat us.
Yeah.
Like, I was so nervous about that game too. I looked at my husband. I was like, I think we're gonna lose. I was like, I don't think we're going. I was like, he looked at me. He was like, do you think we deserve to? I was like, under Rule, no. Under Wilkes, yes. I was like, you've got two totally different teams. Because under Rule, you had a group of men playing football. Under Wilkes, you had a team.
Yeah, and that was the crazy part about the whole situation of this, the switching of coaches. Like, I don't know what he was doing. I don't know how they were practicing, and because it was a totally different team. I remember when PJ Walker was a starter.
PJ was phenomenal, man. Like, I always had a soft spot for PJ, and I don't know why, but I always did.
Then the Darnold trial, and then
he made Darnold look good. Nobody's made Darnold look good. Like, Wilkes made Darnold look good.
It was just too many switching of the quarterback position. You got to have just one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just got to stand. You got to just, it's like you got to run with a hot hand.
I think we had 8 different starting quarterbacks under Rule.
And that's the reason why he's in college right now. That's the reason why. The game plans were just everywhere.
Bad for the University of Nebraska. I'm just saying.
And he's talking a lot of trash, so hopefully he can.
He just needs to shut up and get his nose to his own dang playbook.
Hopefully, you know what I mean, he can get those wins because Nebraska will fire you. We'll see you on.
Yeah, a lot sooner than Tepper did. Tepper didn't want to be wrong about Rule. That was what it was. Tepper doesn't like to be wrong. Well,
so again, Miss Jennifer, I appreciate you coming on. Let the people know where they can get at you social media wise, where they can see your podcast and all that jazz.
Sure, you can follow me on Twitter at Jenna Sherrill, the professional fan. You can also just look me up for Jenna Sherrill, and it should populate. And you can find me on Facebook at Jennifer Matthews Lewis. You can also look us up our 3 Chicks in a Pod Facebook page. It's a public page. Feel free to join. We're live every Tuesday night at 7:30 Eastern time. And we also have another show, Chicks and Salsa, where we have our girl Candy Ebeling come on. She is a later addition to our group, but we were like, let's do this. And that way, like, you know, it just works well. You can also find me on Reddit at Jenna Sherrill. And what else? Yeah. And you can also follow us on Twitter at 3 Chicks in a Pod.
And I appreciate you again for you to come on and give me your time. You know, I know everybody's doing something, you know what I mean? You know, with their time and day. Yeah. So I appreciate you coming on. And, you know, and thanks again. And we're about to get out of here. Make sure you go check out Miss Jennifer's 3 Chicks in the Podcast. And hopefully you hit the like and subscribe and share this, you know, this eventful, you know, podcast. I enjoyed it. So
thank you. I did too. Thank you, Rod. I appreciate you having me on.
All right. And we're about to get out of here. Hopefully y'all have a good rest of your night. And you will see if the old Charlotte Panthers can get this 10 wins.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Good night, everybody. Thank you, Miss Jennifer. Hopefully you have a good night.
Thank you. You as well, sir.